Hey, what is going on out there with you guys today? How are you feeling? I hope you're feeling fine. I'm doing fine, kind of, sort of. But today is not about me, it's about you. So let's get into what I want to ask you today. First of all, do you guys keep a journal? I think it's very important for you to jot down your thoughts of the day, whatever you might be thinking about. And I do want you to write them down because writing them down, what that does is it makes you think more clearly. It makes you think more slowly because a lot of times when we talk to people, a lot of times our mouth is moving faster than we are thinking, or should I say that other way around. A lot of times we are thinking faster than we talk. So with some of us, like people like me, I know for sure, like my mind can go like a mile a minute. And with that being done is I hear the words that I'm saying or I want to say, but I tend to mumble sometimes. But anyway, write your thoughts down. Don't type them. Don't text them down in the phone. Actually, pick you up a pen and a pad to write them down. I choose a pencil because I like the feel of a pencil. But yeah, anyway, folks. So we're going to go ahead and get into this. I'm going to go ahead and ask you the question first. Then I'm going to put on some music for you to mellow out to. I'm going to light an incense for me to mellow out to. I'm going to mellow out to the music too. But, I just want to feel it. You know what I'm saying? So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this. The question I want to ask you is, when you argue with someone, do you argue intelligently? And what I mean by that is your argument defensive? Is it offensive? Or is it just a rebuttal? Think about that for a minute. I'm going to go ahead and put on some music here. This track is called The Thought of You by Track Tribe. I hope you guys can hear that good. I can hear it good. Sounds very nice and soothing, don't it? Let me light my incense. I hope you're thinking about that question. There's a few ways people fight. Now, there's a few ways that people argue. Now, first understand, when you argue, it's kind of like a reflex. It's only a choice if you actually know what's going on and you stop and think about it. But most of the time when we argue, it's a reflex. And that's kind of normal because as people, as a person, as a human being, once we feel threatened, there's only three things for us to do. One is to respond. The second one is to flee. And third, some people fight. I hate to say that, but some people fight. What we need to know is most of the time, people don't realize by responding unconsciously, it can be very exhausting. And at most, the argument can become very destructive. So, and that's the worst. We need to realize what we're saying before we respond. And most of that can happen if some of us just take a minute first to listen, then respond. Is our track going off? Wow, it's been okay. All right, next we have The Truth by Anno Dominion. Okay, yeah. But think about that. I mean, do you argue responsibly? And I've tested this theory out with my life. I don't talk to too many people, but when I do talk to people, I pay attention to how I respond and how they respond. I try to make sure I'm giving constructive advice. I try not to criticize, but I've learned that most people I talk to, it can come off as constructive criticism. Like I had this one guy, I was trying to teach something and I was kind of fed up. And then I'll admit that. But what happened was, I said, well, I guess you can't teach an old dog new tricks. His response to me was, what kind of dog are you? Who are you, Old Yeller or Cool Joe? I let him have that because for one, I wasn't the one trying to be taught anything. I was trying to tell him about something he was doing wrong in his life. I listened to him and I tried to correct the brother and try to steer him in the right direction, and he didn't like that pretty much because of that response. So I just laughed at him and said, you know what? I'm Cool Joe. Take it how you want. Anyway, that was one of my little examples right there. And most of the time, if we censor our response to things, you'd be surprised how the argument will turn out, or anybody you talk to, because that is the seed of self-awareness. When you have self-awareness, oh, that is so powerful. You got self-awareness. Now, that doesn't mean arguing doesn't serve a purpose. You just got to know how to argue. That's all. You got to argue intelligently. Don't argue out of defense without thinking. You can argue defensively while thinking, but just be aware of how you argue and what you're saying. Now, I know a lot of people feel a certain way and things like that. That's why a lot of us do argue, because at the same time, somewhere, maybe, it might have something to do with your self-identity. Maybe. If you on the receiving end. And if you're on the giving end, you're probably caring about someone else's identity and you trying to help them. Like I was explaining to you guys before about the guy I was trying to tell about himself, about you can't teach an old dog new tricks. And he wanted to shoot back at me and not have that conversation intelligently. Arguing does not mean raising your voice. It's just a simple disagreement while you're trying to get one person to come to terms, you know. Let me put it in another way. Arguing is something that or how we communicate about something that we feel strongly about. I'm gonna change this track, you guys. Let's hold back real quick. Let's see. To the Sun and Back. How about that? No, we're not feeling To the Sun and Back. Soft Feeling by Chill. We can rock with that right there. I think we can rock to that. I can rock with that. Can you rock with that? Yeah. All right, like I was saying, it's communication about something that we feel strongly about. Now, when this is done intelligently, someone that knows how to argue, they can master their social life, business life, and so on. I mean, the sky is the limit to what you can master. I know you've heard the saying, the tongue is very powerful. It's like a sword. But at the same time, if you use that tongue the right way, that tongue is like gold. I mean, gold. Now, it's not gonna happen overnight, but I tell you what does happen overnight and can happen overnight. Instead of being on the defensive side, whenever you argue, anytime you argue, instead of being on the defensive side, take time to listen. See where a person is coming from. Figure out how they talk. Now, this doesn't mean match their energy, but try to understand what they would understand if you were to say it to them. And say it to them responsibly. I don't know how long we've been going on right here, but I'm going to keep on going, you know. Now, what I will say, when you catch yourself in an argument, first step is don't listen to that sound of the argument, because somebody else's energy may rub you the wrong way, You just got to step back and listen. Like, hey, I think I've have offended this person in some kind of way. What did I do to offend them? But that's what you ask yourself. Let them talk and try to figure that out. Because something somewhere did happen. And they're trying to let you know. So that's what I mean by listen. Let them talk. Vouch for what they say before you try to say anything about how you feel or what you think. Vouch for what they have told you. And with that being said, people just fly off the handle and respond. There's a lot of idiotic ways that people argue that do not work. What that wind up doing is leaving both parties frustrated. And that's not a good way to have an argument or end an argument. You never want to be frustrated with anything you do in life. I mean, nothing. And if you really realize what's going on, if you see somebody getting frustrated, it's usually the party that's trying to avoid the issue at hand. So keep that in mind too when you arguing, guys. I mean, try not to do no name calling. Never say the word. Well, words that you do this, you do that. If anything, say I feel like. Don't say you always or you do this or you do that. Say I feel like. And see how far that gets you with I feel like. Now, everybody is not mature enough for any kind of argument, probably. Everybody's not going to be mature enough, but they really are. Just don't expect them to think about it all right in that segment. They may have to go to sleep on it, and then the next day they'll come to terms. But if you treated that argument intelligently, responsibly, they gonna feel responsible enough to come to you and be like, hey, okay, you was right about this or you was right about that. Because you didn't chew them out or anything like that. You didn't attack them. You told them, I feel like. So be careful. I mean, like I said, and most of all, don't do no name calling. No name calling. Especially if it's, I mean, oh, Lord forbid, especially if it's between a spouse and their loved one or their significant other. Never ever do no name calling. I can't think of the many names that spouses call each other, but that's a bad that's a bad road to travel. Never. Always say I feel. And the thing with relationships between a significant other, you got to show examples too. So are you talking about how you feel? You got to paint a picture of what you would like them to do by what you are doing. So Don't ask for nothing that you're not doing. Understand that first. I mean, come on, husband and wives. Don't ask for nothing that you are not doing. It's a 50-50 relationship. Love, finance, if it's possible. Now, don't let finance get you in trouble, because it can. Some things happen. I'm disabled right now. So, I got my disability, don't get me wrong, but a lot of the finance has been put on my wife. And she never, ever criticized me about what I couldn't pay or what I couldn't pay. And now the tables have turned. Kind of, sort of. So I'm kind of talking to myself right now, because she's going through some things. And I'm not going to get too much into it, but she haven't got disability yet. So financial is fully on me. So with that being said is, don't let finance be a part of any kind of argument whatsoever. If anything, let that be about love and how you treat each other. Never nothing about no finance. Remember that, and you will have a long and prosperous love life. I mean, think about Adam and Eve. Kind of, sort of. They didn't need finance. Just grow your food and cook it, and that was it. Hunt if you want to, but those are the key factors in life. Eat, sleep, and whatever else is a plus. Have gratitude. Eat and sleep. For the real things in life, we don't need money. The best things in life are free. Most people don't understand that. I mean, I'm getting into a little bit of something else, because a lot of the arguments in relationships is senselessness. It don't make sense. Now, if a spouse has cheated, that's crazy too, because I can't even fathom it, because the person is just not mature, and they're trying to find something to make their self feel whole. And if you gotta go out and cheat, that's never gonna happen. That's something you find within yourself. So I'm gonna leave that alone. If you got somebody that cheat, I pray for you. I pray for them. But anyhow, guys, let's move on here. And if you find yourself in an argument, don't attack the person first without addressing the issue. Always address that issue first. Please address the issue. Now, if they don't want to admit it, they're in denial, you kind of let it go. And this is what I should have did when I said, I guess you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but never have an argument without addressing the issue. And if they don't want to accept it, like I said, just leave it alone. I'll give y'all an example here real quick. You have somebody you care about, right? They like to smoke, and you don't like to smoke. You don't smoke at all. You don't smoke at all, buddy. And what you do is you tell them is, I think smoking is bad for you. Then the other person says back to you, who are you to say? And instead of attacking back, just look at it as the objective truth. And who am I to say, right? But the key is they already felt offended, like, who are you to say, when they know, but they don't want to accept that truth. Who are you to say? Who are you to say? And when you say things to someone, like I said, when they're talking to you, do not match their energy. Do not match their energy. And you want the same for yourself. So what that means is watch your tone. Watch your tone when you're talking to folks. Believe it or not, that person, 9 times out of 10, is probably responding to your tone instead of what you have actually said to them. They're responding to that tone. And like I said, it's a natural thing, because most of the time argumental is a response. It's defensiveness most of the time too. It's a response of defensiveness. So if somebody's energy is negative, that tone is negative, and you ain't gonna care what it is. You just gonna be on that defense if you about your stuff. Now, most people will tuck their tail and flee. Some is not gonna tuck. Like I said, you're gonna respond or fight. It's only 3 ways, like I told you: respond, flee, or fight. Hopefully it's just a respond and not a fight or a flee. If it has to be one of the two, flee. Never fight. Always flee. Never fight. And here goes another one. I had this happen within the same conversation too. Well, no, it wasn't in the same conversation. It was the same person, though. Some people are very, very contradictive. And what that means is they argue one thing without any kind of subject and then go back on what they just said. Never have a contradictive argument. Never ever have a contradictive argument. Always have a subject to back up what you just said. Do not argue for the sake of anything, because that's where stuff like that just happen. When you just responding off the fly without any subject to back up what you're saying. That's the worst. That's the worst thing you can ever do to your character. Arguing contradictively. Never do that. Well, folks, I got a couple more things I'd say to you guys before I end this off real quick. Be careful for them folks that's just arguing for the sake of it. They don't want to agree to nothing anyway, and ain't nothing you can really tell them. And just let it go. Be careful of those kind of folks. Just walk away. No name calling. Just walk away from people that just want to argue for the sake of it, for no reason at all. Most of the time when somebody do that, it's because, remember this, they say the truth hurts. And most of the time you will see that in people. You will say something and they know it's the truth. You know it's the truth for sure, but they know it's the truth. But the truth hurts. Don't tell them that. Don't tell them that. But you'll know that when somebody knows that truth hurts. You just sit back and smile. Realize that they're arguing just because they probably feel offended because the truth hurts. But let it go. Just walk away. No name calling. There is a way to argue with a person that just have contradicted themselves, but please have evidence to back up your statement when arguing with a person that just have contradicted themselves. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like those kind of arguments. When you have a statement or a subject or whatever that can back up the evidence that you're saying that they just contradicted in themselves, yeah, those are the best arguments. And that's when you know you have the power. You just sit back calmly and say, no, that's not how it happened. Remember this. You saw that, or you know this. So why? There is reputation. You can find a mistake in that person's contradicting or whatever they just said. They're in that argument. Explain why it was a mistake. Please have evidence, but explain why it's a mistake. Using direct quotations that they said in the statement and where it went wrong. Please remember, it has to be direct quotations of what they said. Then tell them where they went wrong. A mature enough person will realize, okay, yeah, I did say that I was wrong. But all that comes in when you learn to listen first. That's why listening first is so important, because it can give you that upper hand. And most of all, don't be the center point of an argument without nothing to back up your claim. Whether you trying to help somebody or this is for you. Never be so strong in an argument without something to back up your claim. And that's all I'm going to say here tonight, folks. I just want to leave you guys with that. Remember that thought. Take time to write something down of your thoughts. I know you think it, and at the end of the week, you can go back and check it out. Do not edit it right then and there. But, yes. Write it down on pen and pad. I told you I like my favorite guy here, the pencil. I love to keep it sharp. Some people like pens. And I should probably use a pen because you can't go back and edit with a pen. You don't have that eraser. But that's another story right there. Always write down your thoughts. Jot them down. And go back at the end of the week and do like I'm doing here and share this with folks. There's some people out there that want to hear what you got to say. Some people out there that need to hear what you got to say. All right, you guys. That is it for me today. I thank you guys for listening, for joining me on this session of How Do You Argue? Peace out.